Now, Team Obama wants to open our doors to these people. In fact, Obama is already allowing in more than 250,000 Muslim immigrants per year. Is that what you want? Is that what's best for this country? What are they going to do for us exactly? And how many jihadists are woven into these so-called refugees? Joining me now from Southern California, national spokesman for the Chaldean community in the United States, Mark Arabo. Mark, I want you to be brutally honest with me and our audience, and that is, what is the difference between these so-called refugees that we're seeing, mostly young Muslim men that are invading parts of Europe right now, headed, I guess, into Western Europe, versus the Christians who are being persecuted right now as we speak in the Middle East?
Right now we have a full-blown Christian genocide. The difference is the Christians are the ones in the Middle East that are being massacred, raped, displaced. We've always said, based on human rights, not religion, human rights, America should save the Christians and the Yazidis first, because there's not a lot of countries where you could be a Christian openly and freely. However, there are a lot of countries like Saudi Arabia, like Iran, that could take Muslim refugees. And we should make sure that we earmark special visas just for the minorities.
And we are to that point, aren't we, with what's going on in the world and what's going on in this country in terms of immigration. We are at a point where we have to say, wait a minute, we need to return to a quota system. And frankly, Europe needs to do that too. I think Europe is insane to be opening its doors to these people, as callous as that sounds. There's got to be a point where you have to protect your sovereignty of your nation and your European Union, and we need to do the same here in this country, don't you think?
I can tell you that all lives matter, but we need to do this in a smart way, in a way that moves not just America, but the world. America should lead in saying, let's save the religious minorities, the Christians and the Yazidis that just want to practice their religion, just want to go to church and say the Our Father and Hail Mary, and let the other countries, Iran, Saudi Arabia, let them step up. America can't be the savior of the world. We could lead, but let's press Saudi Arabia and Iran to do more. They should take these Muslim refugees, because you could be a Muslim, live freely in Saudi Arabia, but you cannot be a Christian and live freely in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so there is a Middle East solution, and I agree with you. I think that we ought to say, hey, turn these people around and have the Arabs come up with a solution here, and folks in the Middle East, and maybe the entire Arab world, and let them fix this problem. That's the short term, right? But the long term here, and the big picture is, we have a problem in the Middle East, and we, Americans, have a problem, and that is this radical Islam movement, spearheaded right now by the Islamic State. And until we deal with that in a military sense, this kind of stuff is going to continue, correct?
I can tell you that the ISIS is a symptom of the overall problem. And the overall problem is there's no inclusiveness or equality for Christians and minorities in the Middle East, because the Constitution doesn't protect them. Unless we get rid of ISIS, which right now we know that our government is failing, our Congress and our president is not dealing with ISIS like they should be dealing with them. Unless we take care of ISIS first and look at the constitution of the countries, then we're going to keep losing this war. This is our generation's Vietnam. But we're not helping those most in need, which are the Christians and the Yazidis.
And does Vladimir Putin, I'm no fan of Vladimir Putin, but in a sense, I know he's a political opportunist, and he is trying to protect his assets, Russian assets, in western Syria. But at the same time, he is joining forces with Bashar al-Assad to beat back the terrorists in Syria, something I've been calling for on this program for many, many moons. There's an old expression, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's essentially what's going on here. And in my opinion, the United States, Barack Obama, should be doing something very similar, and that is joining forces with the good guys, and in this case, I think Vladimir Putin and the Russians are the good guys, to beat back the terrorists.
I completely agree. I could tell you that Putin is a smart politician, is a good leader, and he's leading on foreign policy to get rid of the terrorists. But unfortunately, Washington and the president is not making getting rid of ISIS a priority. They're just giving speeches while people are being killed with swords. They should follow other countries, or they should even lead and change the direction to make sure that terrorism should never exist as long as America is leading the world.
Okay, so we see these images of these mostly young Muslim men fleeing toward, I guess, Western Europe, maybe possibly wanting to end up in Germany or maybe Great Britain. Meantime, you and your organization, you've set up an underground railroad to help the underserved victims, if you will, in the Middle East. These are Christians trying to escape what is going to be a death sentence if they happen to run into the buzzsaw known as Islamic radicals, correct?
Yeah, our foundation, Minority Humanitarian Foundation, we are leading the efforts to extract Christians and Yazidis, those that are most vulnerable. We're saving the children and the mothers and the fathers. We're making sure that those that are voiceless and hopeless have a voice and have some hope. And we're also opening up orphanages in America. And we've had so many amazing American angels that have said we're going to sponsor and adopt these Christians that are being massacred and raped because of their faith. Let's not forget, the Christians are being massacred, mutilated, beheaded because of their faith. It's a Christian genocide. And everyone should step up together to make sure that we put an end to it.
And just a little punctuation on that. I firmly believe it is a religious war that's going on here. I think it's the Crusades Part 2. And we need to pick our sides and stand up for the good people in this fight. Mark, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.